Hello, sorry, I don't have my face on because I lent to Alice to do representing, but I'm here to support. I've seen the speech. I think it's really good. We've got 2 year 8s, Sarah and Thingy because Lara. But they're really good. I think Athens a bit nervous, but I believe in them, and Alice is believing in them first. So yeah, and then after they speak, I'm gonna go and I want to be in here for
spoken word public speaking competition for 2022. And it's great that there's so much excitement in the room. I know you're going to be an incredible audience this morning because you've all participated in this incredible competition and you know what it means to get here in the final. So, quick word, I know I don't need to say it, but audience expectations. Obviously, you're going to be attentive, brilliant, and thoroughly engaged throughout. And of course, at the correct moments, you will of course whoop and cheer and holler. Yes, your voice matters, but it also matters at the right moment. Okay, so without further ado, let's get proceedings underway. Let's have a big cheer to start, can we?
Madam Chair, guest speaker, teachers, competitors, and all of you here today, good morning and a very warm welcome to the final of Surbiton High School's public speaking competition for 2022. We are delighted that Annie Ossebon, a familiar face to some of you sports fans, is here as our distinguished guest speaker today. She is a very experienced athlete and communicator whose incredible tennis career has taken her into media broadcasting. We will be hearing from her a little later in the proceedings. Joining our guest speaker on the judging panel are Head of English, Miss Lee, and last year's winners, Zoe, Sophie, and Alice.
In a moment, we will hear from our house teams, but let's just give you a flavour of what's been happening up to this point. All of our students here across years 7 to 9 have proudly participated in this prestigious competition. We have spent plenty of hours pondering over our personal topics before planning and penning our first drafts, and that was before we practiced and polished our well-chosen words to deliver to a waiting audience. Excitedly, nervously, hopefully.
Across class clashes and hectic house heat, we've enjoyed some fascinatingly diverse topics, and almost 500 passionate participants have been whittled down to these select 7 teams. 21 speakers, the best of the brilliant best. These awesome orators didn't just polish their prose, they worked their speeches to a smooth and silky shine. And they can't wait to share them with you. Expect subjects as vast and varied as gender inequality, classical tales, and even perhaps some modest green fruits. A tantalising spread, I'm sure you'll all agree. If you are in year 8 and 9, you will have participated in this competition before. But instead of presenting on iPads like previously, here in the historic Surbiton Assembly Rooms, you can enjoy this 2022 upgrade in real life.
Public speaking is not just a school competition, it's a skill for life. Whether in the future you wish to pursue professions such as law, politics, or media, or maybe in the not so distant future, if you wish to grab the attention of an audience in an inspiring assembly, or have your voice heard at school council, or script speeches in the student leadership team, I'm sure we can all agree that this competition helps build requisite skills to engage an audience and make your voice count, clearly, persuasively, effectively.
There are 7 house teams, each comprises 3 positions, the chair, the speaker, and the vote of thanks. While there are individual prizes up for grabs, this is principally a team competition, and so, in turn, each house will deliver its presentation in the hope of winning the trophy, the Right Honourable Baroness Nikki Morgan Cup. This stunning, shining trophy has been generously sponsored by the school's Green and Silver Club, which is an amazing array of former students of Surbiton. Go on, girls!
Baroness Nikki Morgan took her public speaking skills from Surbiton High School all the way up to Parliament, when she often made serious speeches as Conservative MP and Minister for Education. This year, the quality of speeches were amazing, so it was tremendously tricky for English department and 6th form house students to decide the finalists. So very well done to everyone who took part. The proceedings this morning are as follows.
The House teams will present in this order: Nightingale, Fontaine, Curie, then Pankhurst. Then we will take a break to hear from our distinguished guest speaker, Anne Jotham. In the second half, we continue with Teresa, Austin, then Parks. Then, as the judges come to deliberate, discuss, and decide the winners, we will hear from our Sixth Form Debating Society who have a terrific presentation of their own league. Finally, we will of course have the results and the awarding of prizes. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. We would now like to hand over to the House leaders who will introduce their teams, starting with Nightingale. May the best House win.
Starting off the public speaking competition, we have the amazing Team Nightingale. Please join me in giving them an amazing and warm round of applause.
Good morning, Madam Chair, honourable guest speakers and ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Nightingale's contribution to this year's public speaking competition. My name is Ashma, and I will be your chair for today. Here is Meg, who will be delivering her speech on gender inequality. This is a very important topic because this issue affects us and our modern day society. After hearing Meg's speech, I'm sure that you will empathise with this subject because we, the women of the future, have to face the problems soon to be discussed. Please give a warm welcome to Meg, who will now deliver her speech on gender inequality.
Women make up 50% of the world's population, yet we are still expected to receive less and pay more than our male peers. For years, women have been treated unfairly compared to men, and although this has improved, we still have much further to come. I was shocked to hear only 8% of all the world's CEOs are women. Can't we do better than this? In 1940, World War II had just begun. Many men were sent to war to fight for our country. Back in England, jobs were left unmanned until those women who were able to work began to step in for their jobs, including my great-grandma, Edna Ryland, who was one of them. This new sense of doing something never before allowed gave great thrill to her, and although she was only paid 53% the amount the opposite gender was, she still took part and did as much as anyone else would do. Many women and girls started to learn and do more things to help out in the war. My great-grandma even went to night school because she was not allowed to go to a normal university or college to get a degree in accounting, even though she went on to teach at university. At the time Edna was a young lady, women were not allowed in jobs such as flying fighter planes, working in banks and accounting. They had to stick to much lower paid jobs and lower skilled jobs as well. This made her feel the cause of women altogether earning less than men. At this time, women were restricted to half the amount of opportunities compared to men, and people soon came to realise that this had to change. Many girls now come out of school with the highest test scores, and yet companies still seem to think that they can get away with paying many less. An equal pay law was passed in the late 1900s, but this did not change much as loopholes were found and used. Furthermore, in 2010, a similar legislation was passed, and yet reports of unequal pay have still been found. Recently, my dad was sent results of a survey which looked into different experiences on working in finance and infrastructure, which showed that even today, in these industries, women receive on average about 44% less than men. Although progress has been made, such as women receiving equal pay in some jobs and the ability to go to university, society has not really changed over the last years, with women still being evaded by people trying to get as much money as possible. Although it is not only companies and organisations, but it is reprehensibly also the government. You may have heard about tax on sanitary products, considered to the government a luxury. But it is not only these women-only things. There is something some people may have heard of called pink tax. This is when a tax or another cost is added to the price of the product simply because it is pink or for girls. It has been found from a child to an adult, 50% females pay on average more than men 42% of the time. This would be 7% more on toys and accessories, 4% more on children's clothing, 13% more on personal care products, and 8% more for senior or home healthcare products. I could stand here telling you facts for years on end, but we need to go out and educate and change those of the future, and I'm probably over my 3 minutes of speaking by now. Why is our society said to have changed but not? Why do women still get less than men? Why do we stand here, do not educate people, and do not change anything? My English teacher, Miss Huntley, said to my class if we were to use rhetorical questions, we should in some way answer them. But unfortunately, I cannot answer these few questions, because I didn't create them, and I'm not the reason for them. But I am here to change them, and with your help I can. So without further ado, friends, peers, teachers, I ask you all to think about my speech and think about the war memorial outside the stairs near the library. Has society really progressed in the last 100 years? Thank you.
Thank you, Mick, for that very informative speech. I would now like to welcome Hussaina, who will now deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mick, for your very empowering speech about gender equality, and thank you, audience and judges, for listening so attentively. I'm sure we can all agree that we can do better, and we can change to make our world equal. I was interested to learn that only 8% of our world's CEOs are women, but us women make up 50% of our population. Furthermore, females are generally paid less, yet expected to pay more for necessities such as sanitary products. As you can imagine, I could go on and on about May's passionate speech, but I invite you all to give her a hand.
This brings to a conclusion Nightingale's contribution to this year's public speaking competition. On behalf of Team Nightingale, thank you for listening.
Next up, we have the fabulous Fontaine team. Please give them a huge round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, speakers and listeners, welcome to Fontaine's contribution to this year's public speaking competition. I'm Olivia Robbins, and I will be your chair today. This is Emily Lewis, who will be speaking about why retellings of classical myths and stories are so important. This is such an interesting topic because, as Emily later built on in her speech, the best way to keep literature thriving is to adapt it to modern society. Having had the absolute pleasure of hearing Emily's speech, I'm sure you will all realise how interpretations of classics allow readers to fully connect and explore the ancient world. I would now like to invite Emily to deliver her speech.
Once said that the most important part of connecting children's books is that you match the book to the child, not the other way around. The author has written some of the most well-known and well-loved fantasy novels of the 21st century, with his books pulling aspects of Greek and Roman mythology into modern eras. He has been able to spread a love of classics to millions of children worldwide with this key idea that the best way to keep literature thriving is by adapting it to the world we live in now. And that's what classical retelling is all about, adapting stories from millennia ago into today's society, and allowing people to connect to the past in a way that's far more relaxed and enjoyable. One way in which classical retellings often fall short for me is in the representation of women. They are reduced to little more than background noise, in a reflection of the time. Modern retellings can reflect our time, And exploring these stories from new perspectives gives the original stories greater depth and texture. These also have great commercial success. Madeline Miller's Circe has been ranked as the second greatest book of the 2010s. Patch Barker was shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction for The Silence of the Girls. Angelica Saint's portrayal of the titular character in her book Ariadne has been described as a shining beacon of female strength and courage. New narrations of these myths can merge iconic stories with compelling characterizations and allow you to enjoy classical mythology in a brand new way. Retellings also allow more people to enjoy and learn about these myths. I don't expect any of you to have picked up the Odyssey, but you might have read the Percy Jackson series. That's because retellings allow them to be adapted for younger age groups, as in the movie Hercules, which made $250 million at the box office. Their reach can also be extended to older age groups, as in Madeline Miller's The Song of Achilles, for which she won the Orange Prize for Fiction in 2012. How many people haven't explored the classical world because they haven't been given the opportunity to do so? After all, you're much more likely to pick up a book designed for today's society than one written for people thousands of years ago. And why do you think these stories have survived for so long? Why are these myths one to remember? They're not retold just for the sake of it. They're retold because they're interesting. They're gory and brutal and don't shy away from darker topics. They're filled with people prepared to do anything for what they want, be it power or love or hatred or revenge or any number of things that drive humanity forward. These stories have survived for millennia because they were interesting then and they are interesting now. Their plot lines are guaranteed to be successful. Retellings allow you to delve into the minds of characters that were idolized in civilizations so different and yet so similar to our own, and gives them new layers to explore and develop. So, modern interpretations of classical myths allow you to better understand the women of the ancient world, to spread passion for classics further, and to analyse their characters to a greater extent. They give us new perspectives on the ancient myths, and they will be essential to keeping these stories alive for years to come.
Thank you, Emily, for that wonderful, thought-provoking speech. I would now like to call upon Chloe for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Emily, for your very captivating speech about why retellings of classical myths and stories are so important. I'm sure we can all agree that this speech has made such an impact to hear and how classical myths and stories are so important to us. I was particularly intrigued about why they were retold, not just for the sake of it, but because they are more interesting and how readers might enjoy reading about such iconic stories in a more accessible way. I also found out about some well-acclaimed retellings that adapted stories in new and different ways. In the future, I'm sure we will now all look at our new and unique versions of these old books and remember the true and old story that they were once before. I'd now like to invite you all to join me in congratulating Emily on her very amazing and compelling speech.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes Fontaine's part in 2022's public speaking competition. Thank you.
It's my great honour to introduce the unbelievably talented house speakers in the room. Please give them a warm welcome. Good morning, Madam Chair, honourable guest speakers, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Curious Contribution to this year's public speaking competition. My name is Tilly, and I'll be your chair for today. To my right is seated Katie, who will be speaking to us about why it is so important that we believe in ourselves. I think this is a very relatable topic because I'm sure you can all remember a point in your life when you've put yourself down about having something that you don't think is that good. Having heard the speech, I'm sure that you'll all feel uplifted and start believing in yourself after hearing it. I would now like to invite Katie to deliver her speech.
How many people in this room believe that you cannot draw? That others judge you for your drawings, and you feel like you should hide it, or make fun of it, or even say things like, "Mine looks rubbish." What if I told you that all these wrong beliefs should, must, and can be changed? Because we can all draw. You just need to be willing to try. Picasso once said, "All children are artists. The problem is how to remain one." What I mean is that when you were a little toddler, you enjoyed building blocks, sculpting and drawing with an endless imagination. You are an artist in some shape or form. But as you grew older, some other children started receiving more compliments to their drawings, encouragement and uplifting their spirits, and maybe shrinking yours. There comes a gradual point in your life called adolescence. Scientists have discovered that you might start to believe these comments from others, and you suddenly become very aware of what others think about you. It's how everything in your life, like your art, needs to be perfect. Therefore, you search for your role in life. I'm not saying that we should all be artists. I'm not saying that we should all be perfect in everything that we do. What I am saying is that you need to stop believing these myths that you're either good at things or you're not, as you shape your own life for one that doesn't rely on others' perspectives on you. I want to revert back to this phrase that you can either draw or you can't. If you believe that you cannot draw, why? Now think of something that you believe that you're really good at. Was it challenged where you are now? Is it unarguable that you had to work for it? Putting in the prolonged hours, and this relates to anything: music, sport, drama, and drawing. Because just like anything else, you worked where you are now. So when you get home tonight, grab some paper, grab a pen, and just start scribbling with your heart's content. Because I know that you may still be thinking that you can either draw or you can't. But starting with a plain scribble can be your way of finding you're an artist. A quote once said, "It's better to change an opinion than persist a wrong one." You need to keep this in mind. You need to know that if you work for something, then you can get where you want. You need to know that drawing shouldn't be seen as a chore, but a skill as any other that you can be great at. Because we can all draw, you just need to be willing to try. And you can't let others' comments shape your life.
Thank you, Katie, for that fantastic speech on why we should all believe in ourselves. I can really see myself doing that drawing technique tonight. I'm sure I can really improve my art from that. I would now like to invite Jess to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Katie, for that incredible speech. I'm sure we can all agree that you made an excellent point, saying that we shouldn't quit something just because we think someone else is better than us, or that we're going to be judged on what we're doing. I also found that everyone's an artist, and sometimes you just need to get started. In the future, I'm sure we'll all try and do a little bit more art and appreciate what we've done more. Now, can you please join me in congratulating Katie on her incredible speech?
thanks. That concludes Curie's contribution to this year's public speaking competition.
It is my great honour to introduce the incredibly talented public speaking team from Pankhurst House. Please join me in giving them a warm welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honourable guest speaker, and welcome to Pankhurst's contribution to this year's public speaking competition. My name is Camilla, and I will be your chair for today. To my left is Florence, who will be speaking about the importance of us women speaking up, sharing our views, and being heard. This speech really opened my eyes into understanding the reason for us to do so, and I hope you will all feel the same. And I hope you will all realise the significance of Florence's speech and take away a vital message along with you. I would now like to invite Florence to deliver her extraordinary speech on Why Can't You Hear Me?
Have you ever been in a situation where someone has interrupted you? Rude, right? In group settings, men are 75% more likely to speak up than a woman. And when a woman does speak up, it's statistically probable that her male counterparts will either interrupt her or speak over her. It's not because they're rude, it's just science. You see, the female voice is scientifically proven to be more difficult for the male brain to register. What does this mean? Well, it means that in a world where men are bigger, stronger, faster, we have to shout to be heard. I'm sure a lot of you have been to or know someone who went to a mixed school. Well, I certainly did, and she said that when looking back on her time in a mixed school, she remembered that when girls were put in a group of boys to learn, they became fearful of answering questions or giving their views or opinions. She constantly felt that when her view or opinion wasn't the same as those of the boys in her class, maybe she wouldn't be heard. This is to say that if a girl in her class is to make a point in a lesson, the teacher may not always hear her. However, if a boy in her class is to make the same point later on in the lesson, the teacher would hear him and maybe even congratulate him on it. As a child, you should feel that your voice is heard and that people do hear what you have to say. You should feel that someone has something more important to say than you. Why can't you hear me when I tell you something? Why can't you hear what I say? Why can't you hear that I can do this? I know how to do this. Boys and girls, no matter our gender, there's no more of one of us than the other. But yet, in a classroom, boys will talk 9 times more than girls. And girls are still feeling uncomfortable sharing their views and opinions when they may conflict with those of their peers. You see, I was doing some research into actual real-life instances where people haven't been listened to. And I came across this. In Yemen, a woman is only considered as half a witness. This is to say that if a woman was to give a testimony, it would only be taken seriously if it was backed up by a man. Now, I don't know about you, but I was utterly shocked, because we as a country and a community are constantly priding ourselves on how equal we are. Yet this is still going on. We live in a world where it's hard to keep up, but we just keep trying. So I carried on doing some research, and I came across this quote given by a woman working for a marketing company. Often, a suggestion made by one of the female staff during meetings will be shot down by the owner attender, only to reappear in a week or two as his brilliant idea. We need to keep moving forward to a world where we are all heard as one another, because we all have a voice, and all of our voices matter as much as each other. So, in a world where as women it can be hard for us to be heard, don't you want to be listened to without shouting? You have a voice, so use it. Speak up, raise your hand, shout your answers, make yourself heard, because we deserve for them to hear us.
Camilla, and thank you, Florence, for that wonderful speech about why can't you hear. I'm sure we can all agree that women have the absolute right to be heard without being interrupted or spoken over just as men. I was surprised to hear that men are 75% more likely to speak up than women. I find this unacceptable. But I'm glad that that small 25% of women are trying to make a difference, and those percentages will go up to 50-50. I was astonished to hear that a quote has been made by a female from a marketing company. Often, a suggestion made by a female staff during meetings would be shot down by the owner-attender, only to appear in a week or two as his brilliant idea. Do you think this is fair? How would you feel if someone took all the credit for your idea just because they were the opposite gender? I know I wouldn't feel great. We've all got a voice, and we must use it. And in the future, I'm sure we will all listen to everyone and their ideas, no matter their gender, race, or beliefs. Now, I would like you all to join me in congratulating Florence on her fabulous speech. Thank you, Annabelle. I would now like to include Pankhurst's contribution to this year's public speaking competition. Thank you. Thank you to all of our speakers so far. At this point, we take a short break from our proceedings, and instead, it is my great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, former tennis player Anne Kirchhoff. Born and raised in London, Anne studied at Kingsland Secondary School in Hackney and played her first professional senior tennis match, aged just 14. Her successful tennis career has taken her to the four corners of the globe, playing in all the major Grand Slam events, the Australian, French and US Opens, and of course, closer to home at Wimbledon. At only 17, she became the youngest player ever to play in the Fed Cup for GB. From there, she went to be ranked Britain's #1 female tennis player. In 2021, she was named on the Queen's Female New Year's Honours List and awarded an MBE for outstanding services to tennis. Please give a superlative Surbiton welcome to Anne Kirchhoff, MBE.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, and thank you for having me here as your guest speaker and guest judge. I've been so impressed by what I've heard already today. Your confidence and your delivery are simply outstanding, and I feel inspired, and I'm not quite sure how I'm meant to follow what we've seen already today. But I do want to take this opportunity just to say congratulations and well done to all of you for taking part. Some of you may know a little bit about me, some of you may not, but often when people meet me for the first time, they ask me, well, how did you get into tennis and what were some of your favourite moments? And so, to cut a long story short, I was 4 years old when my parents took me down to the local leisure centre, and there I was introduced to short tennis. That's mini tennis played with a sponge ball. And by the time I was 6 or 7, I progressed to playing tennis on a full-size court, mostly with my older brother down at our local park. And I was entered into tournaments before I even knew how to score properly. And at the age of 10, I was identified as one of the best young players in the country, and I was selected to represent Great Britain in my first junior international. After I completed my GCSEs at the age of 16, I was allowed to pursue my passion for tennis and play full time, and the rest, they say, is history. Now, when I look back and reflect on my career, there is so much for me to feel proud about, and there were some incredible moments and memories created along the way with the people I worked with. But as a British tennis player, I guess the ultimate dream was to be able to perform on centre court at Wimbledon, and I was lucky enough to have that opportunity on a number of occasions. But my favourite match that I played on centre court was actually at the London 2012 Olympics. Now, I think a lot of you in this room are probably too young to remember what the summer of 2012 was like, but for those of you that do, I remember there being so much excitement around the Olympics, the buzz. To me, it felt like the nation came together to support the event, and for all the British athletes that took part, it was a really special moment. For me personally, to be selected to be part of the Great Britain Olympic team was a dream come true. It was my first Olympics, and I took a huge amount of pride in representing Great Britain in all the team events. Not that there are many in tennis, but at the Olympics, a home Olympics was incredibly special. The tennis was played at Wimbledon, and I remember walking out on centre court, and my opponent that day was Caroline Wozniacki, the former world #1. So what makes centre court different to a lot of the other stadium courts around the world is, as a player, it feels like a very intimate court. The fans feel like they're very close to you, so when they applaud and when they cheer, you feel their energy, you feel like they're right there with you, playing each point. And I remember the noise. I mean, I'd never heard anything like it. The support I had on that day really gave me goosebumps. And I remember looking around and seeing everyone waving their Union Jacks and shouting out my name. And I remember thinking, I need to bottle this up. I need to be able to remember this moment for the rest of my life, because I don't think I'll ever experience anything like it again. And whenever I think back to that moment, it puts a smile on my face, and it makes me realise all that hard work was worthwhile. That's what you play tennis for, to perform on the biggest courts, on the big stage, in front of people who really appreciate what you do. Now, I travelled the world playing professional tennis for about 13 years, and it took me to all sorts of places. God knows how many times I went around the world, but it was an exciting life, and I got to fulfill my childhood dream. But towards the end of my career, I really struggled with injuries. I'd had surgery on both my knees, struggling with all sorts of aches and pains, and I was relying on cortisone injections in my heel, which was always very painful, and it became no fun. So I decided to hang up my rackets. But I was fortunate enough, after I retired from playing professional tennis, BT Sports Channel launched that summer, and they asked me to be part of their commentary team. And I'd always been interested in sports and the broadcast side, media side of tennis, and so for me that was the dream job, and it was a smooth transition, I guess, into the professional world, and it allowed me to live a relatively normal lifestyle, which at the time I craved. And that's what I continue to do. So today I continue to talk about tennis, and I can't believe people are prepared to pay me to do that, but I feel very fortunate, and I do it now for a number of different TV networks. One of my other roles, though, is captaining the Billie Jean King Cup team. It used to be known as the Fed Cup, and it's the one team event in women's tennis. I took over the captaincy role about 5 years ago from Judy Murray, and it keeps me involved in the sport. And as a player, I have so many fond memories of taking part in that competition, and I want to help create lots of memories with the current group of players, because I do believe it's really important. You know, why do we compete? Why do we play tennis? What do we have to show for it after? And for me, the memories are important and the fun times. Now, women's tennis doesn't generally get as much attention as men's tennis, so I'm going to plug the competition, and next tie is against the Czech Republic. They are one of the strongest tennis nations in the world. It's in Prague in April, and I'm hoping that's where Emma Raducanu will make her debut on singles court for Great Britain in the competition. So if you can, do follow, do support the team, because I know they'll really appreciate it. But moving on, Nelson Mandela once said, sport has the power to inspire. It can unite people in a way that little else does. And to me, that's a really powerful statement. I really believe in that. I haven't really touched on too much about my background, but there were some challenges along the way. When I was younger, competing in a lot of national events, often I was the only person of colour. I was also one of the few people who didn't attend a private school. And there were times where I was made to feel different and I was excluded, so it wasn't all fun. But what I feel passionately about now is, given my achievements in sport, given what I do now, I am given a platform. And I have the ability to influence some of the decision-making around British tennis. I feel passionately about getting more young people involved in the sport, particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds like myself. I also feel passionately about making sure we have more women working in performance tennis and in more senior leadership roles across the sport. For me, for our sport, in my opinion, for our sport to continue to remain relevant and to continue to grow, we need people from diverse backgrounds involved in all areas. But that also, for me to influence it, requires me to really use my voice, speak up, share my experiences. And that hasn't been easy for me. It's not something that comes naturally to me, not like some of you girls that I've heard today. In fact, speaking in front of lots of people actually fills me with horror, and I'm probably really nervous. But I know I've got to take myself out of my comfort zone a lot of the times. I know it's important for me to speak up. I know what I do about the sport, and I know I need to be able to share that with others if I want to see the sport grow. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, some of you may feel a bit like me. I'm naturally a very shy and reserved person. Some of you may find it difficult to speak up like me. But you've got to be bold, right? You've got to put yourself in difficult situations, because how are you going to get better? People need to hear you. All of you girls here have a voice. Find something you're passionate about and continue to be heard. Keep delivering it with the confidence that you've heard from some of the others here today. And I'm sure, I have no doubt that you will all make a difference one way or another. Thank you for having me here today.
We would like to thank Ms. Keophagor once again for such an engaging speech. I'm sure, like me, you were all fascinated to hear about the highlights of her career and were inspired by her determination to succeed. Thank you. Could you all please join me in showing our appreciation to our guest speaker today, Anna Keophagor. Now we will resume the competition, and we would like to hand over to the house leaders who will introduce their teams, starting with Teresa.
I would now like to invite you to give a very massive welcome to the absolutely unmatched talent of Teresa.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Honourable Guest Speaker, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Teresa House's contribution to this year's public speaking competition. My name is Charlotte and I will be your chair for today. To my right is Jenna Manshaw, who will be delivering her speech,
on the structured society and imperfect standards. This is an important topic because now more than ever, people are coming under pressure to fit in, especially from social media platforms. Having heard Jenna's amazing speech already, I'm sure you all realise her arguments as to why we shouldn't just judge someone for their appearance. I would now like to invite Jenna to deliver her speech on the structured society and imperfect standards.
Have you ever gone into school scared of being judged? Have you ever posted on Instagram and then taken that post down because you were scared of what people would say? I can guarantee that you aren't the only one. However, I can also guarantee that you're guilty of judging others as well. Put simply, it's a never-ending cycle of destruction. Society says that us teenagers should do this and that and wear this top and knee shoes. It happens everywhere, school and social media. But why has it become more toxic, quietly creeping up on us over the years? And why do we listen to it? The main thing people judge is appearance. A survey of school kids showed that 75% of the class responded that they misjudged someone at least once a month or more, and 4.7% said they misjudge people every day. Judgment is a proven natural tendency though. What matters is what we do with those judgments. For example, when I was in year 7, I had my bob around my neck, my skirt up to my knees, and my big black school hat. I was new, so I didn't know what everyone did, how they wore their uniform, etc. I knew some older girls in the school though, so I received some very vocal judgments. Roll your skirt up, it will look like a nun, they said, and don't wear your fob around your neck, it's weird. I remember thinking, why? Younger me was confused why people cared so much. I wondered if appearance is all that really mattered here. As we've gotten older, we're all guilty of having some judgments about younger years. Honestly, I couldn't even count on 2 hands how many times I've silently judged a younger person. But we don't know them. We just know what they look like. It's our school's imperfect standard. How we look automatically decides where we fit in. 56% of young people feel as if they can't be their true self in school for fear of judgment. People care too much. But do you care too much? It's not just in school either. Social media has had an impact on people's opinions, mental health and fashion sense as it has grown more popular. Despite that, social media has become increasingly more negative in the past 5 years. People tend to only post the good parts of their life. That builds pressure on other people. 57% of people feel an overwhelming amount of pressure to be successful on social media. This creative pressure has also led to an increased amount of teenage suicide. A trend that has become more popular is the that girl trend. That girl wakes up at 6 a.m. every day. That girl works out 5 minutes after waking up. That girl eats healthily constantly. That girl always does well in school. Essentially, she's perfect. She's the expectation. She's unrealistic. She could lead you down that path of too much pressure. 66% of young people who use social media have said it's led them to depression. This is why people feel negatively about social media. The standard to have lots of followers, to not post too much, to only post when you look good, to physically look good. Who would want to live in a world bound by these unspoken rules? You don't need to wonder, because we live in it. Have you ever truly just seen yourself in the mirror? Have you ever not wondered what your friend would say when you walked into school that day? A lot? Nothing? Our severely suppressed society standards are ingrained in our brains. It won't change. It's only destructive if we let it be. The one thing I ask you to take away from this speech is to not say something when someone is wearing something you don't like. To not just stand there when you're the person wearing that thing. To not do something because you want to seem a certain way to certain people. You do you, and who cares what everyone else thinks?
Thank you, Jenna, for that exceptional
welcome Sophia Kutubai to deliver the vote of thanks.
Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Jen Mansell, for your memorable speech about our destructive society and imperfect standards. I was particularly interested to hear about how often we judge one another, and how most of the time we don't even realise the impact it has on the person at the receiving end. I am certain we all agree how misleading social media can be, and how it affects the way we think of others, and most importantly, ourselves. In the future, we can work towards developing self-esteem as students and as adults. We can work towards accepting ourselves for our individuality instead of masking our personality or appearance for the expectations of society. I would like to invite you all to join me in congratulating Jenna Mansell for her distinctive and audacious speech.
Thank you, Sophia. This brings in conclusion to Teresa House's contribution to this year's public speaking competition. I would just like to leave you with this old word of wisdom. Never judge a book by its cover. Thank you. Have a great day.
Please welcome the amazing Austin House team by giving them a huge round of applause.
Good morning, Madam Chair, honourable guest speakers, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Austin's contribution to this year's public speaking competition. My name is Mayuki, and I'll be your chair for today. To my left is Katerina, who will be speaking to us about feminism. This is a very major topic because it can show the true meaning of the word feminism. After hearing Katerina's speech, I am sure that you will all realize that we are being blinded with the lie that sex equality is solved, but ourselves will still have a long path until we truly fix it. I would now like to invite Selena to deliver her speech on feminism.
What is the worst possible thing you can call a woman? You're probably thinking of words like slut and bitch, and some others I can't say. Now, what's the worst possible thing you can call a man? A girl or a sissy? Notice anything? The worst possible thing you can call a girl is a girl, and the worst possible thing you can call a guy is a girl. Being a woman is the ultimate insult. And what's considered even worse than being a woman? Being a feminist. So let's start with the basics. What is feminism, and what is a feminist? Feminism is the belief in full social, economic and political equality for women. Therefore, a feminist is anyone who wants total equality between the sexes, right? No. You see, in the same way that the All Lives Matter motto dismisses the racism that black people face and ignores the problem, by defining feminism as equality for all, we dismiss the injustice that women face, and again, ignore the problem we are trying to solve. And to me, there is no greater way of saying misogyny than refusing to put women at the centre of the fight for women's justice. There are so many terms that have been deliberately misinterpreted and manipulated in order to attack women. The term feminism is one of them. The fight for women's equality starts with quashing the stereotypes of what a woman is and should be. Feminism has moved stereotypes away from what they once were, but has inadvertently created new ones. For instance, women have gone from being seen as motherly to man-haters, and feminine to feminazi. And whilst being a feminist should be something that is viewed as admirable and influential, it's ridiculed and sneered upon. The depiction of women challenging the conventional traits, confronting the issue, and claiming their power is a danger to the patriarchy, so they had to vandalise that image in order for it to have a detrimental effect. However, this is not to say that the effects of the term feminism is all negative. By giving a name to the movement to empower women, we have raised awareness of the issues and the solutions we need to implement in order to terminate this. For example, there have been many smaller movements that stem from feminism, such as #MeToo. And by raising awareness of these issues, people, men and women alike, have been able to talk about controversial topics such as abortions, the tax on sanitary products, and beauty standards for young girls. However, even with all this publicity, the only advances we have made towards our goal are political. For instance, there was a law that was passed in New York City, allowing women to walk around topless, just like men can. So, who here in this room would walk around topless in New York City? No one? Exactly. Because if any women did walk down the road half naked, they're going to get abused and harassed. Equality in law does not result in true equality. In order to obtain true social, economic and political equality, like feminism is aspiring to, people need to change their ethics and opinions in order for us all to work together to stop the injustice of women. Very sorry, I'm very bad at public speaking. 45% of people find the feminism movement polarising and isolating, something I agree with. We have unintentionally divided us even more than before, with women now being seen as villains instead of dancers in distress. And whilst none of this is our fault, it is something we have to deal with. By losing the term feminism, we also lose the heavy baggage that comes with it. We would no longer be seen as the man-haters we are now, and it would be easier to convince people to unify against the injustice instead of alienating those who fight. So from now on, I am not a feminist. I am a human being, and I refuse to be treated as anything but.
Thank you, Catalina, for that very powerful and persuasive speech. I would now like to call upon Megan to deliver the vote of thanks.
Wow, thank you, Catalina, for that empowering speech on why being called a feminist has become an insult, and you've certainly convinced me. Before hearing your persuasive speech, in my eyes, feminist was seen as an inspiring, motivating and encouraging term, but you've made me realise that being called a feminist has in fact become an insult, and we need to change this. I'm sure we can now all agree that whilst the feminism movement itself has improved our sexist society in some respects by changing the stereotypes of what women are or should be, I was particularly enlightened by the fact that such a positive step towards a brighter future for us women has led to us holding ourselves back because we are giving ourselves a title that is half the problem. I would like to repeat that equality isn't a concept, it is a need, because we are all humans and no one deserves to be treated as anything less. I would like to invite you in congratulating Catalina on her amazing speech.
This year's public speaking competition.
put your hands together for the incredible Parks team.
Good morning, Madam Chair, honourable guest speaker, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Parks' contribution to this year's public speaking competition. My name is Ava, and I'll be your chair for today. To my left is Victoria, who will be speaking to us about the importance of avocados, a topic which, having heard her speech, I'm sure you will all realise how incredibly amazing these nutritious green treasures really are. And without further ado, I would like to invite Victoria to deliver her speech on why we should all eat avocados. Thank you, Ava. Avocados, a rich, fresh fruit stone that grows in tropical climates. I know. Fruit and veggies are very interesting. So you may be wondering why I would choose to talk about avocados in a free topic speech. Well, you're about to find out why. Because in this speech, you will experience an fantastic journey, learning and discovering all the different reasons why you should eat avocados. Many in this room today will have said at some point in their lives, I don't want to eat my fruit, or had a classical argument at the dinner table where you've eaten everything except your veg. I know, we've all been there. Well, what if I told you avocados are a superfood, and they don't have a strong taste, so you won't even notice it's there? Sounds interesting, right? As with many superfoods, it's what's inside that counts, and avocados are a nutrient bomb. Well then, what's inside? Underneath the tub exterior lies over 14 different minerals and proteins, complete with all 18 essential amino acids. Not only do avocados taste great, but they are full of magnesium, 19.5 milligrams to be exact, which experts consider an anti-stress nutrient. This little green gem is packed with health-boosting nutrients to help your body thrive, loaded with vitamins B, C, E, and natural plant chemicals that prevent cancer and other diseases. However, be careful because, as delicious as avocados are, they also help with constipation, so you might find yourself visiting the toilet a little more often. Alright, avocados are jam-packed with nutrients, but what does it all mean? For starters, it means that your belly will feel fuller for longer, as studies have shown that meals that include avocado leave you more satisfied than those that don't. Your brain will be supplied with plenty of nutrients, so it will be working at its best, now and later down the road too. And here you might even lose some weight. Now don't let it get started on the natural glow you have. From eating this superfood, your eyes will become a little brighter, your hair a little shinier, and your skin will be as healthy as ever. All of this because of its monounsaturated fats and vitamins. We have come to the end of this fantastic journey, all about avocados. So, what have you learned? You've learned that avocados contain an impressive amount of amazing nutrients, and are especially rich in fiber, potassium, vitamins, and minerals, to name some. Eating avocados regularly will benefit your health in many ways. Plus, they are versatile and delicious. Let's end the fights about eating fruit. Let's end the arguments about eating your fellow day. So remember, keep calm and eat avocados. Thank you. Thank you, Victoria, for that simply fantastic speech on avocados. I would now like to call upon Sophia to deliver the vote of thanks. Thank you, Victoria, for your fascinating speech about avocados. I am sure we can all agree that these green gems are a great source of nutrients. I was particularly interested to learn that avocados will make you feel fuller for longer than other foods. I also found it astonishing that so many vitamins and minerals can be found in such a small fruit. In the future, I am sure we will all consider eating more avocados. I would now like to invite you all to join me in congratulating Victoria on her very interesting speech about avocados. Thank you, Sophia. And with that, this brings a conclusion to Parks' contribution to this year's public speaking competition. Thanks.
the judges' chamber to swiftly make their decisions. Thank you to all the wonderful team and their supporting sixth form house leaders for these fantastic speeches.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the pleasure of welcoming the Sixth Form Debating Society to the stage. Their 12 students will be demonstrating their most exceptional public speaking skills and will hopefully inspire many of you to take up public speaking. Whereas the Debating Society's focus is usually on making strong arguments and contesting points of view, today they will be showcasing what it means to be a strong public speaker. So please give them a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. We are part of the Sixth Form Debating Society, and we've been asked to speak to you about the art of public speaking. So, debate is very similar to the kind of public speaking we've had today, in that we speak to live audiences and try to persuade them. However, there are quite a few differences. For example, when debating, we argue a topic to a live audience. We also argue against another team. When we enter competitions, we are given a topic that we do not choose. Moreover, we are told which side we must argue. Therefore, it is our role to be persuasive in any way possible. We do not have time today to demonstrate a debate. However, Ali will be giving a speech using similar techniques as we used when debating on the importance of cancel culture and arguing interculture. Thank you.
Do you know any celebrities who have been labelled as cancelled? In case you don't know what the term cancel culture refers to, the definition is the phenomenon or practice of publicly rejecting, boycotting, or ending support for particular people or groups of people due to their socially or morally unacceptable actions or views. A big target of cancel culture are celebrities, such as J.K. Rowling, Piers Morgan, and Justin Timberlake, who have all been labelled as cancelled. Many people think that this method is inefficient and unfair. However, today I'll be arguing how it can actually benefit society. I believe that through cancel culture, it gives marginalised people a voice and allows them to seek accountability where the justice system fails them. I'm sure at least once in your life, you've all come across a celebrity who used their platform to spread the wrong messages, without racist, homophobic, sexist, or any other prejudiced views. These groups often feel under attack, especially from people who are perceived to have more power than them. Through social media, minorities can come together and use their voice to cancel this person, without having to go through tiring, time-consuming, and often failed processes, such as through the police. A key example is J.K. Rowling, who was cancelled for being transphobic. In early June 2020, someone on Twitter innocently used the phrase, "people who menstruate." And Rowling replied with, "I'm sure there used to be a term for those people. Someone help me out." And she even went on to say that removing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. Rightfully, these comments received a lot of backlash from our own fans and people all around the world. Even Daniel Radcliffe himself clearly stated that transgender women are women. Transgender people are often victims of all sorts of hate discrimination due to their gender identity, with 78% of transgender youth reporting discrimination. 78%. No one deserves to be discriminated against. In this situation, the trans community was vulnerable to attack from someone with so much money, so many followers, and so much power. However, social media gave these people a voice to stand up and show society that this behaviour is not acceptable, no matter who you are and no matter how famous you are. Rowling is the world-famous author of the Harry Potter series, and is a role model to many. Do we really want children having a transphobic role model? Is this really how we want them to grow up? Absolutely not. So something had to be done, and cancel culture dealt with the situation. Another example is Piers Morgan, who
who made outrageous comments on ITV about how he apparently didn't believe a word or what Meghan Markle said about having suicidal thoughts. After being forced to quit his job, he claimed to be a victim of cancel culture. However, he blatantly took advantage of someone who was opening up about their own mental health experience, which we all know takes courage and strength, which he dismisses and invalidates. In 2020, in England alone, there were 4,912 suicides. That's 4,912 individual lives lost. And Morgan makes a comment like that on live TV for the whole nation to see. Through cancel culture, society showed Morgan that this is not acceptable and that he is not the victim. In conclusion, when used correctly, cancel culture can benefit society by giving people a voice to stand up for what's right and what they believe in. Many people think that this is unnecessary. However, ignorant attitudes and immoral actions must be dealt with in order to promote a positive social change so that we can move into society with less hate and discrimination. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ali, for your compelling speech. You presented a strong case in favour of cancel culture, a topic which is quite controversial. Your point about cancel culture being important because it allows minorities to have a voice, to give a voice for the injustices they witness, is a really strong point and something that persuades me to even reevaluate my own stance on cancel culture. I was astonished that 78% of the transgender community have faced discrimination because of their gender. And the approach you propose of cancelling transphobic people like J.K. Rowling for their actions seems a just and reasonable explanation and to stop other people from aspiring to people who hold such immoral beliefs. I think that we can all agree that Piers Morgan's comment about Meghan Markle's poor mental health being a facade was absolutely unacceptable and inconsiderate. You managed to persuade me, and hopefully all of you in the audience, that it is something that makes him deserving of being cancelled. I was wondering what all of you think of cancel culture. Is it a bad thing? Or should people actually be allowed to have freedom of speech and express their opinions without being judged? As mentioned before, we are part of the Sixth Form Debating Society. Debating is a great way to improve your public speaking and to help you think on the spot. Miss Street runs a junior debating society on Wednesday lunchtime. We'd all really encourage you to go along and give it a go. Thanks for listening, and please join me in congratulating Abby on her amazing speech.
Thank you so much to Alice, Ali and Helena for such a fantastic performance on cancel culture. I think we can all agree that they each spoke with passion, clarity and determination, resulting in a very motivational and powerful performance. And if, like me, you're feeling inspired to work on and improve your public speaking skills, we recommend that you sign up to the Lower School Debating Club run on Wednesday lunchtime with Miss Street. It's an opportunity you won't want to miss.
Righty, we are just about to be finished up with the judges. Mr. Ryan, I'd ask you to bring up the house points as they currently stand. A quick reminder of where we are at with our house points, guys. So, at Christmas, a quick reminder of where we were at. In 7th place, King Teresa. We had Clarks in 6th. We had Team Fontaine in 5th. Austin, you were in 4th. We had Team Pankhurst in 3rd, Curia in 2nd, Team We're very much at the top of the table. Now, things have changed a little bit since then. However, one thing to bear in mind, guys, we have got points from today's competition, which Mr. Bird will go through later. We also have the fashion show coming out after half term, where there are literally thousands of points up for grabs for each of the categories combined. so it's by no means over yet in our House standards. Currently, therefore, after this last half term's worth of battle and competition, we have got Team Teresa. In 6th, Team Austin. However, you guys are starting to look at the points. They're actually very close. In 5th place, Pankhurst. Hart's House. We've got Curie in 3rd. Again, look how close the points actually are. Just a matter of commendations, some merits, winning a couple of categories in different competitions. 2nd, currently, Fontaine. Now, one key thing that saw Parks seriously jump up, guys, was the virtual house challenge that you had at the distance. So some of you guys took part and recorded your results. There are 2 more events coming up. One is on the 26th of February, that's a Saturday. Again, there'll be a link sent out to all of you. Hopefully you guys have seen that in your inbox in the January edition. There is also one in March as well, again on the 26th, a Saturday. So every kilometre that you guys do on that day, so you have a Saturday to try and go as far as you can in 1 hour, whether you decide to walk, cycle, run, swim, row, whatever kind of mode of transport, or just using your own legs you might have to record distance. You have 1 hour to get as far as you can. Each kilometre is worth a house point. Parks managed to get 300 points more than anyone else on that day in January. Okay? So you've got plenty of ways to jump up the table. Don't forget, any charity fundraising you might do outside of school, myself and Mrs. Moore are not aware of, you get £1 for every single point that is raised, okay? Sorry, a point for every pound that is raised on that basis. Our judging team are just coming back in, so Mr. Ryan, we can switch back over the other PowerPoint, that would be delightful. We welcome back our judges.
Our judges have deliberated, discussed, agonised and agreed, and now they're definitely decided. So, for the result of this year's competition, please, let's welcome to the stage our head judge, Ms. Lee, and our guest speaker, Anne Kiyomavon.
We didn't have public speaking last year properly, obviously, because we were in lockdown and we were on Teams. And it's such an enormous privilege to be back and judging you all, and I'm so impressed. I never had any training or teaching in public speaking, as you can tell by the way I'm delivering this. And I'm also really nervous, so I understand exactly how I'm doing this. Catalina, I'm just going to mention to you, where are you, Catalina? Where's she still? For your speech and the way that you came back and the level of composure and strength and resilience that you showed, that is exceptional. That's what makes it really good. Using our voices, and I think it's more important than ever that we do so. I'm going to go a little bit rogue on Mr. Bird's PowerPoint that he gave me. He gave me a quotation to read that says, summon the courage to stand up and speak out for what you believe in. Somebody will always disagree, but do not fear this, for it will bring you respect throughout your life. To be true to you is to be truly brave. Give voice to what you know to be true. And oh my goodness, has every one of you done that today, be it in your English classes, in your house speaks, or here today speaking as a team. Really, really well done. We have our results, and I'm hopeful I'm going to do this in the right order, otherwise that's going to be even more embarrassing than standing up here in the first place. So, we're going to start with the runner-up for the position of chair. So, after much deliberation, we came to give that award to Olivia from Fontaine. And our winner for the position of chair is Camilla from and our runner-up in the position of votes of thanks, we have Sophia, also from Pankhurst. And then we come to the positions of runner-up and individual winner for our position of speaker. Oh no, I've done a bit. See, this is why I should do this for a living. Our individual winner for vote of thanks is Jessica from Curie. Okay, so now we get to the individual winner. The runner-up is Florence from Pankhurst. And our winner for individual speaker goes to May from Nightingale. Overall, as you heard at the start, this is principally a team game. So overall, runner-up team is Parks. And finally, and getting our inaugural cup, you get the silverware, and we're expecting an FA Cup style photo from you. Our overall team winner is Pankhurst.
But to be fair, that was like us.
Could you all please join me in showing our appreciation to our judges and Dr. Rob, Alice, Sophie and Zoe, to Miss Lee and the entire English department. And all our students today who have performed with clarity, courage and conviction. And once again, congratulations to Pankhurst. This concludes the Certain High Public Speaking Competition of 2022.
That's it, guys. Thank you so much. It's just needed for me to say thank you to everyone, particularly not just our competitors here, but thank you also to our amazing presenters today who've been awesome, and also to you as an audience. You've been incredible. It has been a long hour and a half, and you have been brilliant. So give yourselves all a round of applause. We'll hand over now to Mr. Newton, who will give instructions for about what's happening for your lunch.
Thank you, Russell. Extend that round of applause, guys, to the English department.